Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Greg Young, and on behalf of OTC Markets, as well as our co-host, Zach Small Cap Research, we are very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from Dermata Therapeutics, Incorporated. Please note, you can submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Jerry Prohl, Chairman, President, and Chief Executive Officer of Dermata Therapeutics, which trades on the Nasdaq under the symbol DRMA. Welcome, Jerry.
Thanks, Greg. Good afternoon and good morning to the folks on the call. As Greg said, I'm Jerry Prohl, CEO of Dermata Therapeutics. Dermata is a topical dermatology company. Throughout the presentation, I will be making some forward-looking statements, so I refer you to our SEC filings. We've got a very unique product. It's a topical, natural product that has multiple mechanisms of actions, both mechanical and chemical, that allow us to work both in medical and aesthetic skin conditions and diseases. We've completed a phase 2B study in moderate severe acne, which I'll talk a little bit more about, and have excellent results. We've done proof of concept study in psoriasis, DMT-310, which is the sponge product that we use. We've also found that within the sponge, not only do we have organic matter, you can see here in the bottom in the green, that have chemicals within the organic matter, but we have inorganic matter that are these needle-like spicules, and I'll show you a little bit better picture and a little bit further in the presentation. But these spicules actually create these microchannels within the dermis and allow us to deliver large molecules. We've done a couple proof of concept studies using Botox in order to deliver it topically for a couple different diseases. Hyperhidrosis, in this case we did axillary hyperhidrosis, which is excessive sweating under the armpit with really interesting results. And then we did a facial aesthetic study, and I'll share all this information with you in just a little bit. As far as the management team, I spent about 15 years in large pharma. The company's now is Sanofi. It went through multiple mergers and acquisitions. I came out to San Diego in '99 to help start a company, Centaurus. I was there 14 years. We built the company over the 14-year period and sold it to Salix Pharmaceuticals for $2.6 billion. I then took a couple months off, but started Dermata Therapeutics, brought on Kiri Van Hoos, our Chief Financial Officer, and Kiri's been in the finance business and biotechnology for about 20 years. Maria Munera works for me in regulatory and quality. She also worked for me at Centaurus, where we were able to get 4 products through the FDA. And then lastly, Chris Nardo, who heads up my development. Prior to coming to Dermata, Chris was at Allergan overseeing drug development, specifically in the dermatology and working with Botox. So he has a very good knowledge of Botox. As far as our board of directors, everybody on our board has been in biotech for at least 20 years. They've all been involved with building biotech companies and then exiting those biotech companies. So a lot of good experience on the board of directors. As far as the markets, really just focus on 3 markets. On acne, there are about 50 million patients in the U.S. have acne. About 30 million of those patients are actively seeking treatment. And many of them are dissatisfied with the treatments that are out there. And we'll talk a little bit more about how we can fill that gap. Psoriasis, about 9 million patients. There are quite a few products on the market for psoriasis, but it's mostly for more severe psoriasis. Those are biologics, and you'll see them advertised on radio and TV. We're really talking about more mild to moderate, which make up about 80% of the patients with psoriasis. And then I mentioned hyperhidrosis. There are 3 different kinds: axillary, which is under the armpit; palmar, which is on the palm of the hands; and then plantar on the bottom of the feet. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Botox is approved for axillary hyperhidrosis. It is not approved for plantar or palmar hyperhidrosis. Again, this is a little better picture of those spicules. You can see they're very straight, needle-like. They're about 150 to 300 microns in length. What that means is they're long enough to penetrate the top layer of skin, your stratum corneum, into your dermis, which is really important because it can deliver then the chemicals within the sponge into your dermis, which will have a number of different effects. It can also deliver other large molecules into the skin. The spicules also will create these open comedones and allow oxygen to get into the comedones. What happens is you have C. acne, which is a bacteria in a closed comedone, and it grows in an anaerobic environment without oxygen. When you open up the closed comedones, you can get oxygen in, help kill the C. acne. It also promotes collagen production. You actually stimulate collagen. You turn over your dead skin and you improve the look of your skin over a period of weeks and months. I mentioned the organic matter. The organic matter has these chemical compounds within it that have anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial properties. We're able to clearly demonstrate we can block IL-8, which is an inflammatory cytokine that's stimulated by C. acne. We're also able to block IL-17A and IL-17F, which have been implicated not only in acne but in psoriasis. And then the last thing is we've been able to demonstrate that we can inhibit lipogenesis in sebocytes. What that really means is patients that have acne have oily skin. That's sebum that's being produced by sebocytes. We're able to block that. And we actually hear that from our investigators that not only do we get rid of the acne lesions, but we improve the look of the skin. So I'll talk a little bit more about DMT 310 and a little bit more about the program that we're currently looking at. It's a powder product, comes in a little packet or a sachet. It's pretty easy. You pour it into a mixing bowl. You add in 3% hydrogen peroxide. It foams up into a really nice mousse, and you rub it onto your face. In this case, we're doing a facial acne study. You could do it on your chest, your back, wherever you have the acne. Leave it on about 10 minutes and wash it off. The benefits of this product are really threefold. Number one, frequency of treatment. Most topical acne products are going to be applied once or twice per day. And when you're talking about mostly teenagers or folks in their 20s, compliance is usually a bit of an issue when you have to do something once or twice a day. Our product's very different in that you only have to do it once a week. So you could do it Sunday night before you go to bed. You're done for the entire week. It's very easy to remember to do since it's only once a week. But the other two important aspects of any acne treatment is time to treatment effect and tolerability. And we know that a lot of the topical products, whether that's retinoids or benzoyl peroxide, typically going to take somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks before you start to see the effect on your acne lesions. We know with our product, after just 4 applications, we were able to see a 45% reduction in inflammatory lesions. So almost half the inflammatory lesions were gone after 4 applications. That's highly motivating for the patient to continue using the product. And then the last thing is tolerability. As I mentioned, retinoids, benzoyl peroxide, while they take 6 to 8 weeks before they start to see the effect on your lesions, you see the tolerability issues, burning, stinging, itching, skin peeling from the first application. So a lot of these kids are seeing the tolerability issues early on, but they're not seeing their acne lesions go away and they stop using the product. We have really good tolerability, and I'll show you that data in just a little bit. The phase 3 program that's ongoing, and we expect that we'll have completed that fairly soon, the enrollment, with top-line results in the March of next year. The phase 3 program is a very well documented program. It's a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled. This is exactly as the FDA would require for any product being approved for acne. Patients are 9 years of age or older. You have to have an IGA, which is Investigator Global Assessment of 3 or 4. That means you're either moderate or severe as far as acne. It's a 12-week duration with once weekly application. The endpoints, absolute reduction in inflammatory lesions, non-inflammatory lesions, and IGA. And in order to be considered a responder, not only do you have to get a 2-grade reduction, but you have to get down to 0 or 1. So if you have severe acne, which would be a 4, you actually have to get a 3-grade change to be considered a responder. And these are the exact same endpoints we use in our phase 2B study. So here's the phase 2B study. As I mentioned, the endpoints are exactly the same. The study design is exactly the same. The only difference in our phase 2B study, we had patients 12 years of age or older. When you go into a phase 3, the FDA requires you go down to 9 years of age. we'll get very few patients. It'll be 9, 10, or 11, but it's a requirement by the FDA. Everything else is exactly the same. You can see here, as far as treatment emergent adverse events, very few for DMT 310. The most frequently recognized is application site erythema or redness. That's mostly from rubbing the product on. It typically lasts a couple hours. We tell patients, put the product on before you go to bed. When you get up the next morning, it'll be gone. As far as tolerability, these are the 4 things typically you're going to measure when you're using a topical product for acne: erythema, redness, dryness, scaling, stinging, or burning. If you looked at a retinoid or benzoyl peroxide, what you're going to see is they're going to have some severe effect. That would be in red. We have none. Most of ours is mild. In the case of a retinoid, you're going to see 40 to 60% scaling, stinging, burning. The same thing with BPO on dryness. A lot of tolerability issues. So our product is very well tolerated, and it's very rapid onset of action, as I mentioned. You can see here in the next slide, on the top are inflammatory lesions. Those are the big bright red lesions. On the bottom are the non-inflammatory lesions. On the left is absolute change, and on the right is percent change. And I mentioned here at day 29, which is after 4 applications, we had a 45% reduction in inflammatory lesions. That's really unheard of and typically not seen with most topical products. So we get really good effect. If you look at overall on every measurement at every time point, we were statistically significant with 181 patients. Probably even more important, though, is IGA. IGA, or Investigator Global Assessment, because it's somewhat subjective, it's a dermatologist evaluating the patient. This is probably the hardest of the 3 to hit as far as statistical significance. And you can see here at every time point, again, we were statistically significant, but most important, at the end of study, which is day 85 or week 12, we were at a p-value of 0.001, so highly statistically significant. With 181 patients, we expect in this first phase 3 study we'll have over 500 patients. So we're very well powered to show statistical significance on all 3 endpoints. These are the 4 products, that have most recently been approved from Journey Medical. Amzeeq, which is 4% minocycline, and it's a once-a-day topical. You can see here the overall IgA effect is about 36%. Sol-Gel had Twineo. It's a combination of BPO and tretinoin, and it's a once-a-day product. They didn't look at it actually a 2-grade change. They looked at 2-grade change of 0-1, about 39%. Cassiopeia Winlevi is a new type of product. It's a twice-a-day product, but not very good efficacy in their phase 2, only 8.6% IgA. And I'll point this out because I'll talk a little bit more about this and kind of how they move forward with licensing their product. And the last thing is Cabtrio, which is a triple combination from Bausch. It's clindamycin, adapalene, which is a retinoid, and BPO. And they had very good overall efficacy, but because you're using BPO and a retinoid or adapalene, you're going to have a lot of tolerability issues. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. The other issue with both Sol-Gel's product and Bausch's product is the FDA is currently looking at benzoyl peroxide as a lab has done some work finding that BPO or benzoyl peroxide will degrade into benzene, which is a class 1 carcinogen. Obviously, that's a big problem. Benzene will cause leukemia, and it's something that the FDA is currently evaluating whether or not they will decide to either make some changes or pull the product off the market. There have been a couple citizens petitions that have been filed with the FDA, so they're currently working with NIH to replicate these laboratory results and then make a decision on what they would do with all BPO products. So we'll wait and see what happens there. Certainly, if BPO and all the combination products were to be removed from the market, it would create a huge gap in the marketplace and a perfect opportunity for DMT 310 to fill. I mentioned I mentioned that Cassiopeia Winlevi, which is a twice-a-day product with not great efficacy. They went out and did licensing deals for their product for most territories throughout the world. and you can see the upfront payments were about $65 million. Total milestone payments about $270 million, and mostly double-digit royalties. And this is for a twice-a-day product that's not all that effective. So we certainly think we have great opportunities. Our longer-term plan would be to find a partner that ultimately could help us pay for the second phase 3 and then ultimately commercialize our product. DMT 410, which I mentioned, is basically using our product, specifically the spicules, to deliver Botox or botulinum toxin topically into the dermis. It's pretty simple. The spicules penetrate the stratum corneum into the dermis. They create these microchannels and allow the toxin to slide along the microchannels into the dermis. Once Botox gets into the dermis, it cleaves a protein called SNAP25 that then blocks acetylcholine production. What that does then is it blocks a number of things. It blocks sweat production, and it also blocks sebum production, the oiliness of the skin. And you can see here, this is a piece of skin stained. All this purple here are all the spicules that are in there. So there's millions of spicules that create these microchannels. It's pretty simple. You can apply our product, wash it off topically, apply Botox, and then massage it into the skin. I mentioned we did a couple of different studies, really trying to find out, can we deliver large molecules? Most biologics are between 150 and 900 kilodaltons. Botox is very large at 960 kilodaltons. So we thought if we can deliver Botox, we can probably deliver most large molecules. Obviously, it doesn't require any injections. Many patients out there don't like needles being stuck in them. It can get broader coverage. We can cover the entire face versus just some fine lines, and then go after additional indications. So axillary hyperhidrosis, excessive sweating under the armpit. We did 10 patients. We looked at these patients. Basically, we applied the product, applied Botox, and washed it off. And then we had the patients come back 4 weeks later, looking at the decrease in gravimetric sweat production of greater than 50%, less than 50 milligrams of sweat, and change in gravimetric sweat production. You can see here, very good overall response, very similar to what Allergan found when they used Botox, where they had to give 15 to 20 injections in each axilla. Obviously, those injections are painful for the patient. They're very time-consuming for the dermatologist. We think our product certainly is going to have much less pain. It's very easy to apply. There's no pain involved. And it could be applied by either a nurse or an esthetician, freeing up the dermatologist to do other things. We also did a facial aesthetic study. Really what we were looking at is fine lines, pore size, sebum production, and improvement in skin. And we found that there was no distal spread of the toxin. In other words, it didn't move out of the dermis into the muscle. We also were able to improve luminosity, brightness of the skin, and reduce pore size, sebum production, and fine lines. And I'll share a little bit of that. Here we looked at pore count and pore area, and we did this using high-powered cameras. We also looked at wrinkle count, wrinkle area, and you can see nice reductions here on the forehead, the left temple, right temple. Because of the indications for Botox go down to a lateral canthal line, that was as low as we could go with this study. The next study, we expect to do the entire face. Here's a patient here. You can see at baseline, and I think you probably can see this on your screen, the shininess, that's kind of sebum of the skin. And then you can see here all of the pores. They're about a pore count of 302 pores. After 4 weeks, we had the patients come back. You can see the sebum is gone. There's no oiliness of the skin. And the pore count went from 302 down to 100. There's really nothing on the market right now that reduces pore size, so that's really important. So as far as DMT 310, we think this product is going to be an excellent product for moderate severe acne. First, as an RX product. Longer term, we think this product will move from RX to OTC, similar to what we've seen with BPO and retinoids. And this could be a very interesting OTC product, as it's very unlikely there'll be any store generics out there unless we go ahead and license to any of the pharmacies out there. And then we'll start to look more at mild to moderate psoriasis. Again, about 80% of the patients that have psoriasis have mild to moderate. As far as DMT 410, we think not only can we use it for aesthetic, including the entire face, but for axillary, palmar, and plantar hyperhidrosis, potentially for acne scarring. In our phase 3 study, we will be looking at our ability to reduce scarring on these acne patients, and then rosacea. And then we think there's a possibility down the road for us to be able to deliver other biologics for psoriasis and some other diseases, and then also dermal fillers. As far as patents, we filed patents on DMT 310 for treatment of acne. We filed DMT 410 using our product to deliver botulinum toxin for all these indications, and then also deliver other monoclonal antibodies or dermal fillers. And we've gotten one granted patent in Japan for hyperhidrosis. We also have exclusive supply of our product throughout the world. Very good cost of goods, likely to have 90% gross margins. And there's no good pathway for a generic with a botanical. We're likely to have to, anybody that would want to bring out a similar product would likely have to do all the non-clinical and clinical studies we're doing. They also have to develop their own analytical methods and their own placebo. So we think there's a lot of barriers to entry, certainly, in this marketplace. So with that, I'll go ahead and open it up to questions. The first question is, for the layperson, how does DMT 310 differentiate from RX? So DMT 310 will be a prescription product to begin with. We're going through the prescription pathway. It's a requirement in order to be approved as an acne treatment. Once it's on the market for a number of years and have demonstrated safety and efficacy, you then can do additional studies and then apply for moving from RX to OTC. And I have some experience doing that. I did that. My last company was Zegrid. I also did it previous to that with two smoking cessation products, Nicorette and Nicoderm. Interestingly, Nicorette was about a $50 million product as an RX. When we moved the product over the counter with SmithKline Beecham, it became about a $200 million product. So having greater access to the product without having to go into physicians usually results in even higher sales. Second question, are you working with an academic or strategic partners? We've talked with a number of strategic partners in the dermatology space. We expect that once we have top-line results from our first phase 3 study, if they look similar to our phase 2b study, we would look to find a partner that can help fund the second phase 3 study, and then they would also be our commercial partner where we'd get milestones and royalties from that particular partner. Next question. You have several great paths. What are your focal areas and milestones for 2025? That's a good question. Number one, our focus right now is completing enrollment in our phase 3 and then having top-line results March of next year. And number two is finding a partner for DMT 410. It would be a botulinum toxin partner that we can work with to do further work in demonstrating our ability to deliver a botulinum toxin for various indications. What's your cash on hand? How far does it take you? We have about $6 million of cash currently. It takes us into the second quarter of next year, so all the way past announcement of our top-line results for our phase 3. Do you have any KOLs talking about you in peer-reviewed articles on the product? Yes, we do have our phase 2b studies has been published, and I believe that's available on our website. We also have a physician that was actually unknown to us, did a YouTube video that described DMT 310, and we're working with Torrey Hills Capital, and that'll be up on our website. You can access that. Do you have any alternative supply chains for the sponge? Currently, our supplier that we use has been actually harvesting and supplying this product for about 25 years. They can currently do about 30 metric tons of product. And again, our product for the entire face is 2 grams once a week. So you can imagine 30 metric tons are hundreds of millions of dollars, and they can increase that certainly well above 50 metric tons once we get to that point where we're selling that much product. So we don't have any issue with supply. The nice thing about Spongyloacustis is it actually grows during the spring and the summer. It puts off gemmules that are then planted, and then it goes dormant in the winter and then regrows in the spring and the summer. So you've got a constant supply in a very, very large geographic area. So we don't think supply will be any type of an issue. What is your ideal exit strategy? Um, Certainly, we would expect to look to find a partner that we could partner with that could both help pay for the phase 3 study, but also be our commercial partner, and ultimately probably be the company that would acquire us as we get closer to approval of the product. And last question, any research coverage? Maxim, their research analyst, is currently covering the company. So with that, I think there's no more questions. I certainly appreciate folks' time. I think if when I talk with individuals, whether that's parents that have kids that have moderate severe acne, or I talk with acne sufferers, and we tell them we have a natural product. You only have to apply it once a week. It has really good efficacy and fast onset of action, and it has very good tolerability. The first question we get is, where can I buy it? I think this product is really going to cause a paradigm shift in the treatment of acne. I think you're going to find that there are going to be millions of patients out there that'll be seeking this product. The nice thing about an acne product is, lots of teenagers have acne, and when they start using a product that really works, they start telling all their friends about it. So we're very excited about this product, first for acne, and then partnering with a botulinum toxin company to deliver botulinum toxin or a Botox similar for a variety of diseases, both rosacea, acne, hyperhidrosis, but also facial aesthetics. We think this could be very complementary to how Botox or botulinum toxin is currently being used, like Daxxify, because it's going to do the entire face. It'll probably be used earlier than maybe an injectable botulinum toxin, because you're going to start dealing with these fine lines, wrinkles, reducing pore size. And then as the lines start getting deeper on the forehead or the bridge of the nose, then you'll start moving to an injectable botulinum toxin. So we think the market really is tremendous for this product, both as a single standalone entity and also in combination. So with that, I'll thank everybody for your time and